Good day, friends. In today's video, I'll talk of the coming visit of Prime Minister Modi to China to attend the 25th Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. In yesterday's media interaction, which is on August 26th, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri confirmed that the Prime Minister will attend the SCO summit. He will be there in China on August 31st and 1st September. Since Mishri did not mention Modi staying back in China for the Victory Day parade, which is on 3rd September, and it's a very big event, it is fair to assume that the Prime Minister will come back to India on 1st September itself. However, it is certain that the remaining 9 permanent members of the SCO and many countries who have observer status will stay back for this parade along with their military delegations. Now, I just want to point to 3 things which come out from Misri's media interaction yesterday. The first one is when asked, Misri said that India's focus at the SCO summit will be on terrorism. Obviously, he was referring to terrorism emanating from Pakistan. What needs to be understood is that Shanghai 5, which was formed in 1996 and comprising of Russia, China, and 3 Central Asian republics, its focus was on 3 evils, how to eradicate 3 evils of terrorism, extremism, and separatism. And this same Shanghai 5 in 2001, it became the SCO, and by the time India and Pakistan joined the SCO, as permanent members in 2017, SCO had a vision of its own. And at the heart of the SCO vision is the concept of indivisible security, something which all the global South nations understand. Now, if India also understood the ethos of the global South, it was in sync with that, it would have understood that terrorism can be taken care of by this concept of indivisible security. Let me explain how. Now, you see, indivisible security is an entirely different concept from the traditional thinking of security as a zero-sum game, that for my security, your security has to be compromised. Indivisible security is everybody's security. It's about cooperative security. It's about relative security, not absolute security. It is about having all the stakeholders involved inside the tent. That is what it is. And this vision has been there for a long time. Not only that, President Xi Jinping specifically enunciated this once again, emphasized this in his concept of Global Security Initiative, which he gave in 2023, and President Putin of Russia, he emphasized the same concept of indivisible security when he spoke about Eurasian security architecture in 2024. Now, let me explain this as to how this relates to our subcontinent between India, Pakistan, and China, because after all, it is here that India has 2 military lines. If India was to accept or agree to the concept of indivisible security with Pakistan and China, then what would happen is that the grey zone operations, which is the peacetime activity, which is a very big menace on the 2 military lines, that would end on line of control as well as line of actual control with China. As far as line of control with Pakistan is concerned, if India accepts the indivisible security concept, then the proxy war, or what Misri is talking about, terrorism from across the border, it will end. Not only that, the counter-terror operations that the Indian military has been doing, rather army has been doing for decades, and what it calls no war, no peace operations, they will also end. As far as the line of actual control is concerned, there Indian Army will be able to cut its manpower if the grey zone operations end. And the need for Agniveer's induction would no longer be there. So all these benefits are there. Not only this, if India accepts this concept, then there will be peace. And peace is a critical necessary for building deterrence. But you see, what this requires is that India start with Pakistan, sincere talks on the Kashmir issue, and normalize relations with China. They don't have to be done suddenly in one day, they have to be done progressively, slowly, but with sincerity, something that India does not want to do. And hence, Misri talking about terrorism is meaningless. My second my second observation is that since quite some time, the Russians, surely privately and publicly also, they've been talking about the revival of RIC, which is Russia, India, China. Now, this is that concept, the coming together of three nations, which was first thought about, enunciated by the Russian Foreign Minister Primakov in the 1990s, and this is at the foundation of what is today BRICS. What the Russians have been saying is, or asking India is, that if this is revived, when you look at RIC today comprises of two great powers in the multipolar world and one nation which is the most populous nation on earth. If they all come together, that means the global south, which is 80% of the world population, that can stabilize. In turn, it will stabilize the global geopolitics. So much can be accomplished. Now, the irony of the whole thing is that India does not want to revive the RIC, otherwise Misri would have mentioned this, but it has taken advantage of this RIC umbrella at least two times during Prime Minister Modi's tenure. The first time India took advantage of RIC was after the Doklam crisis of 2017, when India requested for a summit between Modi and Xi at Wuhan in 2018, and within a week of that, back to back, India also requested for a summit meeting between Modi and Putin at Sochi. So the whole idea was that India wanted Putin to be the guarantor of peace in the meeting between Modi and Xi after the Doklam crisis. So India used the RIC concept. It again used after the Galwan killings of 2020 June, when in September, 10th of September 2020, the joint statement was signed by India and China by Jaishankar and Wang Yi in Moscow in the presence of Sergei Lavrov. But India does not want to have the RIC revival. It does not want the three leaders, Modi, Xi and Putin, to sit together in China, because that will mean that India is with a witness, Putin as a witness is accepting cooperation with China. Cooperation means normalizing ties with China, something that India does not want to do. That's my second point. And the third point is that with just 4 days left, Misri said that we are still finalizing the bilateral interactions of the Prime Minister in China. Now you see, with 4 days left, I am not worried about the other countries. When we look at the three important players there, I am excluding Iran for the time being. As far as President Putin is concerned, we know very well that he is coming to India by the end of this year. And as far as Prime Minister Sharif is concerned, obviously Modi would not want to meet him. But what about President Xi? I mean, President Xi is also the host there, and still the agenda of what needs to be done or what the two leaders will discuss bilaterally has still not been finalized. So the point I want to make is that India is not in sync with the global South ethos. It still remains with the global North and America. So I do not expect anything substantive to come out of, as far as India is concerned, from the SCO summit, besides mere diplomatic inanities. Thank you so much.